Good. Okay, hello, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Dornisberger.
Here.
Trustee Eck.
Sound on and I'm.
Trustee O'Loughlin, I see you there. Yes. Okay. And Mayor Hinshaw. Okay.
Thank you.
Everyone's here. Well, have a quorum.
I'm going to read something briefly. The Open Meetings Act pursuant to Public Act 101-0640, as well as by the Disaster Proclamation
Recording in progress.
during the public.
Recording in progress.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which
which stands one nation under God,
indivisible
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Recording in progress.
There will be a connection from the Acacia Drive over to Blackhawk Park. And there will be a connection road, and both are in a phase 1 study. We're expecting to have the Wolf Road alternatives in an open meeting and have that information available around March of this year. And Joliet Road, we have no new updates. The Acacia Drive, I talked about the north wall between Joliet Road and Plainfield Road will be constructed next summer. There will be noise and a disruption for those living close to the tollway. And community survey. I wanted to thank everybody that has responded to the survey. Andy is going to hit on this later in the meeting, but I wanted to say that we had a total of 280 responses. Remember to take your proof of your vaccination and please wear a mask. Sadly, COVID is still rampant in the village, so please do what you can to mitigate the spreading of. And with that, I will open for public comments. Are there any on the call that have a public comment? I don't see any. Andy, do you have any?
I do not.
And I'm checking. I don't have any either. Okay, we'll roll along. If we miss somebody, again, there is another opportunity at the end of the meeting. First item up is the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brenda and Rita. Any questions, discussion about the
The one I didn't get ready for, if you give me a second here, I'll find it.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
Oh, John, very
Oh,
nice.
there we go. Okay, that's great. Okay, so for the month ending December 2021, our cash on hand as of the end of November of 2021 was $2.9 million. Total all warrants for December 2021 was $427,450. Total revenues, $472,734. Ending bank balance, not much different than our beginning, $2.9 million.
Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, trustee O'Loughlin,
Aye.
trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
trustee Metz,
Aye.
trustee Eck,
Aye.
and trustee Donnersberg.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's been approved. Next item under new business, or first item under new business. Chris, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I would make a motion to pass ordinance 2022.
Is to give our Public Works Department the flexibility to work with a contractor for emergency water and sewer main repairs. We typically will rotate among the bidders and we observe their performance to make sure that they are doing things in a quick fashion. And just because they might have a higher bid price, sometimes they do the work much faster, which means cost savings for the village. This is the third time we've been doing this contract since I've been here.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments? I will add that The water loss report was completed today, and for the year, we had just over 5%. I think it was 5.17% water loss, which is, I think, fantastic. I think the industry average is around 10%. So I see Justin and Don. I know there are other in the water. Justin, do you want to answer that?
We do a leak survey where we go out. A contractor does a village-wide, trying to pinpoint anything real small leaking. We monitor every day for our flows. If we know what our base flow is, and if it's higher or lower. When we do the Illinois Department
Recording in progress.
that's all already kind of calculated in the DNR magic. We do report the flushing, any kind of construction flushing that we do for that kind of work. But that small percentage, there could be something very tiny out there, but
Progress.
They can put devices at like fire hydrants at each end, and then they can pinpoint where they hear a leak to within a foot. I've seen it. It's amazing.
Recording in
We're only
progress.
collecting- Only metering about 80 million, collecting that from our residents or our customers. So things were very different. Part of that was not only all the numerous leaks we had, but it was also our meters were bad and not very accurate. So we've certainly come a long way from when we in the last, what about
Recording in progress.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Eck
Aye.
and Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's approved. Passed.
All right, that's been approved. Chris, would you like to make a motion for the next item? You're on mute, Chris. Hopefully someday we'll get rid of that issue from our lives.
There we go.
During the weekend of the new year, we had a truck fire, and a picture should be coming up momentarily. There we go. One of our snow plows was totaled. It caught on fire and is totaled. We are in the process of collecting our insurance check on it in the amount of about $57,500. The total purchase price of this vehicle was about $60,000. So we lost about $3,000 in value for a truck that we've had for 2 years. So Don and Justin are beating the bushes, literally. In the motion, we did a search of state bid prices for similarly equipped trucks, and we are right in line with what the price should be. So I was worried about the village being gouged because during a pandemic and vehicle shortages, prices are a lot higher, but this price is in line with state bids, so we're lucky there. So that is the gist of that motion. Also, Don and Justin have been able
Has it been on order?
5 months.
So almost a year.
Yeah.
When can we get the snowplow if we do purchase it?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
When could we take delivery of the snowplow if we go ahead with the purchase?
First week of March.
Yeah, I really think this is an important service that we give to our residents. And our building department does a great job clearing snow. I think it's, and I also think that
everybody was safe.
The other question related to that is, can we scavenge any of the tires or stuff like that off the that?
What we
that,
can
the old one?
scavenge, we will.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question. First of all, I have to ditto everything that Rita said in terms of the good job that you're doing plowing the snow. Our streets are wonderful. So Don and Justin, you're doing a great job. We appreciate it. But do we know what caused the fire? I mean,
To the manufacturer or other people involved with maintenance of the truck, not the village. for what's called subrogation. So if we can get them to pay for the damages, then the insurance costs are that much lower. So it is ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? I will.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. That passed.
Thank you, Clerk Ellison. Next up is Resolution 01-2021 supporting HB House Bill 4176. John?
I'll make a motion.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Any other comments or questions? We have a roll call vote. Clerk Ellison, please.
Trustee O'Loughlin,
Aye.
trustee Farrell Mayer,
Aye.
trustee
Meeting.
I'll second it.
That was Eileen.
Yes.
Thank you, Brenda and Eileen. John, quick note.
Staff is not finished with its further research into the project, and we just would like to have some more time so we can make a recommendation to the police committee and ultimately the village board.
Thank you. Next item is discussion, the plan.
Thank you. That is passed.
Thank you. Okay, now the discussion, plan for smoke signal newsletter in 2022 and beyond. Rita or Eileen, are you ready to talk to this?
Yes. We back in the October, the with the understanding that it would be reviewed by the communications committee as to what the future of smoke signals should be. The communications committee met in November and discussed it, and it was agreed that among the committee members that it would be beneficial to have the written publication of smoke signals cease as of July 2022. Has come in. Andy has informed me that there is quite a bit of support for continuation of the written publication. And I'd like Andy to just address what his findings.
Of 266 people who answered this question, 256 or 96% said smoke signals was their number one source. The other, so you could pick more than one option. The other option that came in second was the village website at 112 or 42%. And we also received some numerous comments to the effect of residents, they like getting out of comments in total, probably about related to communications.
No,
or-
just related to as far as smoke signals.
So we got 20 comments about people liking the smoke signals. And from that, in that category of comments, we probably got about 40 comments total. So about half of the communications comments were related to smoke signals.
Okay, so it was 20. Okay.
Said that they wanted to continue smoke signals.
Well, so it wasn't a direct question of do you want to continue it, but it was a question about where you get your information about the village. And 96% said smoke signals.
And just to follow up on my comments is that if it did cease publication, written publication, it would continue online in some version, because we did want to, you know,
Snapshot of the newsletter. Is that correct?
right, it would have the same content as the newsletter, and just, you know, be a forum for community events, things happening in the community. Yeah, basically the same format, but online.
Andy,
Recording in
was to
progress.
get people to sign up for emails to get notices. And I think that was a good plan, but now 5 or 6 years later, I think we have 240 emails signed up on our website. I know that we have Simplicity, which is a new tool, and I don't know what our count there is. I doubt it's 240 or whatever we have for email, but for whatever reason, either
Seems to have an electronic newsletter. And if you're anything like me, you end up deleting a whole bunch of email every
Right.
single day.
Right.
And a piece of paper that comes in the mailbox. It's a little harder to, well, you can discard it pretty easily, but you can also take a look at it when you have time, when you're tired of looking at a screen all day long. So another reason just to keep the paper copy.
I would comment. But there's good content that is coming in, but it's quite a commitment on the part of the communication committee to continue that. I'd also agree with what Tom had indicated, is that getting people to sign up for notices in Indian Head Park is, we've got 250 out of 4,000 residents. We don't have a lot of people signed up for notices so far, anyhow, which
I
would
think that-
which would in my view indicate that
I think that there might be a number of reasons why people don't go online or they're not interested. One is that we do it in certain areas have an aging population and they're not as inclined to use electronics. And I think also maybe it's a sign that we're doing things right. People aren't concerned about the village. I don't know. Maybe I wish they would pay more attention. And I think that getting the paper newsletter out is a good idea. I like Chris's idea of quarterly. I think quarterly is just fine.
Yeah, my opinion is that I really don't care for it monthly. And one of the reasons why I was asking is how many comments were received in regards to, it was about the source of where they're getting their information. And out of 256, only 20 made comments in regards to that. So that's really a small number.
opportunity, right? I think we had, Rita, I forget what your recommendation was.
Well, I mean, I was reporting what the committee had stated, and originally I was for moving online. But I guess after hearing the comments here and hearing the response to the survey, I would support a quarterly publication as well.
Especially since our treasurer was the one that suggested it. I'm shocked, Chris.
Recording
So
in
thank
progress.
you. And so what does that mean? If it's quarterly, I don't know if you had your heart set on being done with all that. So I think if you're okay, Rita, as chairperson of the communications committee, heading in that direction, and then back and talk about the ramifications of that maybe change.
I think that's fine.
Okay, if that's good with everybody, I don't see anybody throwing a tomato at the camera. We're going to move on to the discussion of the hardship criteria in granting of special uses for sheds. And I think we're going to start with Pat. If Pat is ready.
I am ready. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir.
So at the last meeting, if you all recall, I know Trustee Eck and others raised issues under our ordinance pursuant to certain standards. And within the zoning ordinance, after that last meeting, staff and I took a look back at our zoning ordinance, and there actually is a section related to hardship specifically. And there is A through F
Recording in
evidence
progress.
that is presented at the public hearing, and weighing that evidence, that facts and evidence based on the criteria. And I think the difficulty comes in evaluating the criteria and applying it to the evidence that's presented. So what I've done in the past when this issue has come up, and what I would offer up, is to sit down with the Planning and Zoning Commission, be it
Recording in
terms
progress.
of what is a hardship, and is this particular case a hardship, and keeping in mind that every case has to be judged on its own merit, and therefore, the application of those criteria
I think it would be very beneficial if Pat would make a presentation or have a discussion with the commission.
Charlie, are you okay with that?
So, and making the distinction between what we've done in the ordinance.
Progress.
What's to be discussed.
Excellent.
Sure.
Matt, I have a question. We had several shed and fence committee meetings. And I don't want to speak for Sean or the committee, but my recollection is that they
Recording in
In
progress.
excess of so many square feet, or a house that has a 3-car garage is not entitled to a shed or something like that. If you're evaluating these on a case-by-case determination, which is supposed to be how a land use case is evaluated, and you're applying the standards, then those facts that you just articulated get thrown into the mix with the standards that are already in the zoning ordinance. So I think, yes, you do evaluate those things, but I don't think they're necessarily dispositive of any particular case, because each case has to stand on its own merit.
And it's up to each petitioner, I think is the word, to describe their hardship or explain their hardship. Is that correct?
Hardship, but it is their burden to do that, and then to present the facts that would allow for the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend and you ultimately to approve that they met the standards for approval.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Charlie, I think you were the one that brought this up, so you're okay with that plan of action?
I think this is going to provide guidance, as Rita mentioned, that really having an opportunity
joined the board. Money was very tight. It took a year or two to kind of, I don't know, get the financial conditions in order to where we had the luxury of being able to select something to do that wasn't paying salaries, buying gas and trucks and, the normal things that we had to do. So the intent here is to select some items that this board wants to do that kind of go above and beyond what the normal budget items are. And again, it's not required, and these are board selections. And the process has varied over the years. And so what I am proposing that we do, and again, this is a board decision, but to save some time and focus our conversation between now and next February, after tonight's discussion, I would send the board a tally sheet like is in the board packet, and that's a sample, but it will probably be very similar to that. The board will make selections, or not votes, they're points awarded. Then those will be summarized so that next meeting in February, the board could have a discussion, and the goals that are on the top of the list maybe get more of the conversation than the goals that are on the bottom. At the same time, the Finance Committee is working to know approximately how much discretionary income or discretionary expense, excuse me, is a better term, that we could spend on a goal or goals. I think if the board wanted to spend $1 million, we could do that and find some way to cut and do something, but that's probably not practical. We're probably in the 100 or 200,000 or something, and I don't know that right number. Again, the Finance Committee will be working towards that answer. So they kind of work together in, we don't know how much, but a rough idea, not 10 million, probably a couple 100,000, but could be more, could be less. We don't have to do that. So what I have done is pull together the items that I have heard. There is a list of 11 items in your board packet. What I thought we would do tonight is spend a minute on each one, or a couple minutes, and go through the list. This is not the end-all be-all list, but at some point we do have to draw a line. So at the end of talking about these 11, if somebody else on the board has a new item, we can add that and talk about that, and then that would be, again, on the list. So I'm going to go through and talk about these, and I explain them, because it's kind of hard to say what a goal is in 5 or 6 words. I think some of you know what these are, but some of them may not. So please, any questions at this point from the board? Brenda, you've been doing this, I think, the longest. Any comments to what's happened or what I said?
No, you were right on in that, and it's been very beneficial because we have gotten a lot done throughout. So it's a great program that we have going.
All right, so most of the dollar amounts at the end of the goals are numbers that I put, again, so they can change. And I think that's part of the discussion. So the first one up, and I did these alphabetically, so they're not in any ranking, is Acacia Drive landscaping if needed. I believe that the project will be landscaped and done to look very well, and again, better than it was. But in the past meetings, we have talked about having some money. I heard 5,000, I heard 10,000. I went a little above and beyond to say 25,000. But any questions about what this goal is, and any thoughts on the amount that it should be?
I think it's hard to put a number to it until the work is done. I just don't know how we would figure that out. But if I had to throw something out there, I'd say at least 20.
All right, and that's a good point, Elaine. I'm glad you brought that up. What we often do for these goals, because they're kind of back of the napkin, we don't know the real costs. But what we're doing, like in this example, would be to say we want to allocate 20 or 25,000 for it. If it turns out it's 40,000, the board would come back and decide, do we want to spend 40? If it's only 7,000, then Yahoo, we don't need that much. So part of the goal, and if it's approved, is to dive into it and find out what are the options, what are the costs, and then report back to the board as we go. So, we're not committing to spend, in this example, 25,000. It's a rough number, a placeholder. That can be 20,000 if we want. Any other thoughts?
I'll go with your 25.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. And again, please, board, this is, these are the board goals. I'm just trying to help facilitate the discussion and get to the answer. A better sound system for the village. This was brought up. I don't know that, personally, I'm not sure that we need it, but I stuck 5,000 there for a placeholder. Any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, that's a goal that I suggested, and it's only because I know sometimes playing back our meetings, you can't hear the people who are talking. It could be because they're not talking into it, they're not near a microphone, or they're not speaking directly into the microphone. I think, Tom, you said we've got a great system, but I know we need to, if it's not the sound system, we need to figure out some way to get our recordings to be more audible, if that's the right term.
All right, and David's here and he's hearing the comments. And, this may be an example where we don't need to spend money, but maybe it's training how to remember how to hit the button or lean up or pull the microphone close or whatever, or we look at some other alternatives.
Well, I have to agree, not just for the recordings, but I have a hard time hearing if somebody on the other side of the room is talking. And maybe you're right, Tom, maybe they're just not speaking into the microphone, but I struggle sometimes to hear. So I like this one.
Okay, I'm going to keep moving, and please interrupt me if I'm going too quick. Blackhawk Park improvements, and this was again a suggestion. There aren't anything defined, but it could be a sports court. Could be better landscaping, could be a dog run, which we've heard in the recent months from a few residents. And I put 200,000. I know Brenda has looked into this. Again, there's no set plan or anything. Any questions or comments about that?
They're also talking about a community garden too over by Blackhawk Park.
That's kind of in the works, though. Is that right?
Right. But I'm just putting that in there so that people are aware. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Where's the community garden?
It would be going right behind the pump house. Right
Okay.
alongside the tennis courts.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is to investigate the acquisition of a vacant lot for a new neighborhood park. And I put the cost at 250,000 because that's approximately what a vacant lot costs in the village. Any questions or comments?
Do they
Got any
have,
vacant lots?
do we have any?
There are two that I'm aware of.
Curious where
So-
they located.
Yeah, where are they?
There is one on the southern end of Blackhawk. I want to say close to 6,600, I think. And there's one at the end of Sequoia. Those are the two I'm aware of. I don't know, John, do you know of any others?
You're on mute, John.
John didn't know of any others.
Okay.
It's an idea, and so it goes on the list, right? That's what we have done in the past. Next item up is more community events. I think the events like the movie in the park have been a hit. So I put, thinking maybe two more. I think they're about 3,000 each. So 10,000 may be a little high, but just again, a placeholder. Any questions, comments?
I think it's a great idea. It'd be nice to get maybe some concerts in Blackhawk Park or something like that in the summertime. Some good community gatherings.
No, it is a great idea, but we need more people on the board to, take the lead on this. It's a lot of work.
I hear that, Brenda. Thank you.
Kind of
Another
reminded
idea.
that Burr Ridge used to have it in their park area there on, I don't know, I think it was Saturday afternoon or evening, where they'd have live entertainment. It's been a while since I've gone to that. I think COVID certainly has had some impact on that. Does anybody else remember going to those?
You mean the one that's in the mall?
Yeah, in the
Yeah, they
mall.
still do it. They did it last summer, but on a smaller basis.
Oh, they
And
did.
actually, years ago, there were concerts in Arrowhead Park, and you could bring your picnic basket and your chair and sit out there and listen to music. So it has been done. It would be nice
mean
to see it
Black
come back.
You mean
You mean
Black?
Black-
And the Countryside does it. They've done it in their city park.
Yeah.
So again,
Blackhawk Park, excuse me, yeah.
is 10,000 the right number for a placeholder?
If we're doing 3 more movies, that would be right, correct?
I guess, Brenda, you're saying it's not only money, it's board power, manpower.
Exactly.
Okay. The next item is an electronic sign. I think anybody going by the Highlands or the school church that's on Plainfield Road, a sign that we could put, our messages out. Sean Kennedy has priced some out. And I think the number should be bigger. A low-end sign is about 30,000. A high-end sign with 2 screens, so it's at an angle so you can see it from 2 different directions. That's 70,000. Again, depending on, if this gets momentum and traction. I know a location. There's been several suggested. The Heritage Center on the southern end of Acacia where it meets Wolf Road. The village has a little 40 by 40 plot. The idea of maybe a Joliet and Wolf Road, and then something on the southern end. No spot has been identified. So again, this is one that's kind of vague, no location, no type of sign, just, is this worth exploring? Any questions about that?
The other thing, Tom, is that I was looking into, I was talking with John, just to a new signage once Acacia Drive is complete in front of the Village Hall, because that signage has deteriorated, as well as depending on what happens if we choose a sign over, as well as at the corner of Wolf Road and Joliet Road. But I mean, if we're going to go electronic, of course not, but otherwise bring in a welcome sign there as well.
Well, those were the next 2 items, so you kind of jumped into that. Thank you, Brenda. So I'm going to move the electronic sign up to 50,000. Not sure that we would need the Cadillac, but again, this is a opportunity that if this is a top goal, somebody would research it, find out what the options are. The board would decide what they want. Do they want the 70 or the 30? So again, none of these are set in stone. They're kind of placeholders. Yeah,
Well, I think if we're going to do a sign, I'm not really, it makes me nervous because it just seems a little tacky, frankly, to me, unless you get a really nice sign. I just don't want some neon sign out there,
Oh, the one for 70,000 is wonderful brick, stone, great brand of the village. I mean, it's very nice.
And it would be the rolling messages on there?
It's more like a TV screen, big giant.
Nice.
There's pictures, at least in the copy.
Yeah.
Some of these are outdoor TVs.
Nice.
And I personally, I prefer that over like what the
Yeah.
fire station has.
Yeah.
That has the dot. To me, that's the older technology.
Yeah.
But again, that would be looked into. All right, so again, I'm going to move that up to 50. I'm going to move up to the next item, 7, a new sign at the corner of Joliet and Wolf. Brenda, I put 20,000. If we did a sign, not an electronic sign, but a sign similar to the one at Plainfield, what's the right amount?
I would go with 20,000. I don't think the cost because of COVID and everything, I think we should be okay. I would maybe do 25 just to be on the safe side, but I don't think definitely it shouldn't cost more than that.
Right, and then that goes to the next one in front of Village Hall, like you mentioned. Because of the sidewalk, it looks like that sign's going to have to be moved, and it might be an opportunity to get a new sign in front of Village Hall. And I put 25, and that may be too low. Brenda, what would you think?
How much did you put, Tom? I'm sorry.
25.
25,000.
Yeah.
I was looking at more like 8 to 10,000.
For the Village Hall?
Yes.
That's very similar to what we have at Arrowhead Point, that price range.
Correct.
Well, what was the 25,000 at the corner of Wolf and Joliet? I thought that was similar to Arrowhead Point.
Well, that probably will have to be bigger because of or they're going to have to build it up because of the way the land is there. Because it's kind of like down.
Oh, so you're including the support to get the sign there.
Correct.
All right, so a new sign at Village Hall.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
At Joliet and Wolf, that you're talking about on the IDOT property?
Yes.
Do we have permission to do that?
No.
No.
No, John's going to be talking to them.
Well, if we want to go that way, then we would look into it. These are kind of back of the napkin ideas.
Correct.
Yeah, but how feasible is it if they don't give us any? I mean, why talk about it if we can't get permission?
Well, so we could go through and do the legwork on all of these, Chris, to get them all buttoned up and then vote. But if nobody wants to do a sign down there, why extend the effort?
Well, it's just that it's not our property. And so I would assume before we even consider it as a goal, we find out if it's a possible, if say it lands in the top number one goal of the board, but it doesn't work, why go through all that effort?
I'm not sure we're going to get an answer in the next month. So what would you like to do? Not do it or go and?
I suppose just take it in the right order and whatever happens, happens.
I'm reasonably confident that we can do it, but it's not for certain. They want to keep the land as a flood area. They have never said they don't want it to look nice.
Yeah.
They did not want to sell it or give it to the village for fear that we may put a gas station there as a crazy idea. They need it for flood system.
Yes.
Stormwater.
Section of wetlands.
Wetlands, yes. All right, so Brenda, back to the Village Hall sign. How much for that?
Between 8 to 10. Hopefully less.
I'm going to put 10 just for a round number. All right, Sacagawea Park improvements. I think the main improvement would be to install power close to the gazebo. And I don't know the right number, 5,000. John, did you tell me that? That would be high, John says. Any questions about that?
We did get a quote. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. We didn't even share. I don't think we even shared it with you, John, yet. I don't know if we sent that to you. But we can follow back up with you to get a better number. I think it was more than 5 though. Okay.
Well, again, it's a place, so was it 10?
Yeah, 10 to 15, I think it was.
Oh.
There's a little bit more construction involved.
But don't tell Chris that we're doing any legwork before we zero.
No, and I'm just saying it's high. That was only one quote. We were going to try to get you guys a little bit more information. So
that one, just so the board knows, maybe a higher amount if we think about it really hard and we get a different number.
What a great idea to do the legwork ahead of time. I like that. Thank you, Justin.
Chris, you may be moving yourself into the person who does all the legwork. All right. The next one is a personal favorite of mine, saving for potential Wolf Road landscaping $1 million. And again, I think people have heard me say that the look of the timber trails with the fence and the landscaping, if we did that along Wolf Road, if and when they do that project, I think would be outstanding. Any questions or comments on that potential goal?
Well, I can put my pencil away because that's the one we should do.
Put your pencil away. What's that means?
I've been taking notes. I don't need to take
Oh.
notes anymore.
I think this is a very important one.
Charlie, should you think that should be the right amount, or should it be less, or
Have-
wait?
Have no idea. I doubt if it'd be less.
Yeah, and again, I think much like Acacia Drive, I expect that when the project is done, if it's done by the county, it'll look very nice. But do we want to go above and beyond? I doubt the county is going to make it look like the Timber Trails corner. I hope everybody knows what I mean. And I'm not saying we have to copy that, but something on that scale.
We could have issues on both sides of Wolf Road, on both the single family side as well as the multiple family side. And depending upon whether we're looking at a bike trail, a sidewalk, one or both, or how that would be done. And that's going to make some impact as to how Wolf Road's going to look, east and west sides. So.
Yep. And I think if Wolf Road is going to happen, it is at least 2 years out, if not 3, maybe 4. So this may be premature even to be talking about it. But if we're going to start allocating money anyway. The last one, Eileen, you may need to get your pencil back in your hand, is the triangle facade improvements. And I just noticed, I think maybe the number should be 350,000. And I use that number as roughly half of the one estimate that we got.
Right.
You agree with that number?
Yes, yeah.
And do you want to explain what this would be roughly?
So what we did is we got an estimate on putting a new facade on the strip mall, for want of a better term, from Wolf's Head all the way over to Capri to Go. So it would be a whole new facade. There'd be a new what's the top part of it, and new signage throughout. And I think the bid was around $700,000. They gave it to us so that we can do an increment, incrementally, so that we can do some this year, some next year. But since that property is not owned by us, it's owned by somebody else. We can't really do too much dictating to him in terms of who his tenants are and whatnot. But I think we're moving him to the point where he is willing to do some improvement to the look of it. I'd also like to think about in the future is finding room there to plant some shrubbery or trees or something just to soften the look.
What type of signage are you referring to?
The signage over each one of the stores.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, everything's different. Some of it looks good, some of it looks terrible. So it'd be somewhat uniform and backlit. We have go ahead.
Money that were given to the owner of the property?
No, he's gonna have to put some money into and get some skin in the game. So he's going to have to put money towards it. We're looking for grants and things such as that. And then the village can kick in some that would bring us to where we want to go.
Brenda, I think we've talked about a couple options, maybe rebating of some of our fees or some of our taxes, of course, not all the taxes. I think that the village did this 15 years ago for Brookside Plaza. So I don't, again, have everything defined. I know that may make some people uncomfortable, but again, part of the project, if the board wants to pursue it, is to investigate what are the options, how much, who is doing what, how many years, all that kind of stuff.
Right. And I think it's important to know in that, because I mean, if we're going to decide on what ones we would like to accomplish, it's important to know the details as far as what what's going to happen at this place and what the owner is going to pitch in, et cetera. I think that's
Right.
And again, I think the way I see this, if the board, let's make up a scenario, made this the number one goal, then Eileen has been working on this since she got on the board, or even before she got on the board. But it would change some of the thinking. And again, we aren't in the situation where I think we can dump money on something, but we can either rebate taxes or something, I think. And so we would have to flush out what those are. So by approving the goal, it does not mean that the board is approving the money to be spent. It's approving to push it forward as a top goal of the village. And then whatever the plans are would have to be flushed out and then approved by the board. This is just making it one of the items to move forward. To use an example, Blackhawk Park Sports Court, if that's the last one on the list, then we don't spend any cycles trying to figure out, do we want tennis courts, basketball court, all that. So the details in earnest would come later if approved. It may not happen. Years ago, I think 2 years ago, we had saving money for a potential church development, and that did not happen. So of course we didn't spend that money. Yeah, Charlie.
Are we through with number 11?
Yeah, I think so. I'm done. Anybody else? You have a new one, Charlie?
Well, you mentioned this, I'd written this down, but we spent a lot of money looking at the churches, the idea of expanding facilities and space for the village offices as well as the police. And do we want to allocate, say, just to throw a number out, $80,000 or $100,000 to study feasibility for space usage going forward? Do we put a second floor on the existing village hall? Do we remodel the Heritage Center and put some offices in there? Some kind of longer range planning for space utilization sounds like that would be worthwhile.
Are you talking mainly this building or public works, or just the village office space or buildings and overall?
Part of the study of the church related to the condition of the building, which was not good. But it also indicated that it would take roughly $2 million to upgrade it for village offices, without really going into a lot of detail as to how much space that would increase and make available to the village for their usage. Didn't discuss whether or not we would keep the existing village hall. So I believe a longer range plan on space utilization would be worthwhile somewhere in our planning, whether it's modifying the existing village hall, adding to it, doing something with heritage or whatever. I don't know. What do we need in the way of space? Police department said that they had, they needed more space.
Yep, you are true. We are full in this building. John, what amount? I think Charlie said 80,000. If I think I heard you right, what amount would you say for a overall study?
Can't hear you.
John, you're on mute.
You're muted.
John, you're muted.
Then I muted myself. 80,000 seems in the ballpark. I don't see it being done for anything less than that.
I would think it'd be more.
Yeah.
What was the church? What did we pay for that? 35?
35. And that was a building assessment and condition analysis.
All right, I think we can put 80,000 there to at least get that on the list. Any comments on that new potential goal?
No, I like that. And then also too, to see what maybe we could utilize Public Works building a little bit more as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Charlie was saying and what I think we look at all the land, all the building and see what we have today and what the needs may be in the future to see what can be done. It's kind of a vague thing, but that's part of what the goal and the fun of it. It would zero in on some things. That sound good, Charlie?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so that's a new number 12. I may put it in alphabetical, so it may be a different number. Any other new items? All right, so again, to kind of keep the meeting flowing. So in the past, I have asked the board to, in this example before Charlie's, but I guess I can add to the 12, you would put a 12 by the one that you like the most, and then 11 by number 2 and go down the list so that your very least favorite would get 1 point. So that is one of the ways that we will probably be doing. And then there's another way. John had an interesting idea, and I thought it might be good to try. So it was 66, now it'll be 78 points. And the thinking is that you could put all 78 points on one item or divide it up so they all get 6 points, or you could put 35 and 35 and 5, whatever. So you get a pot of points to spread around as you see fit. Doesn't have to go in order. So we'll just try it out. And again, these are not a end-all be-all tally. All it is doing is helping the board be able to focus at the meeting to get the goals hopefully near the top that they would want to move forward with. Sound okay?
Yes.
So when is all this going to happen?
Between now and the next meeting. So in the next few days, I would send out the updated tally sheet that was in the board packet. And then ideally you would get that back. I'll give a due date, but in the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks. We don't know yet what finance committee we'll have. So I'm looking at Brenda and Chris, and hopefully at our next meeting, we'll start to figure out, is it 200,000? Is it 300,000? Is it 75,000, right? Don't know. But some number. And again, that's kind of a loose number. It's not hard and fast. Any questions or anything else? Thank you all. All right. We are on to reports. Trustees, I'm going to go around the dais even though you're not here. Eileen, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Sean is out. Trustee Metz, do you have anything to report?
Yes, we have a finance committee meeting on Monday, the 17th at 6 p.m. I assume we're going to be doing that virtual?
Yes.
Yes. And so anybody can attend that virtually. And also the Heritage Center is looking for additional docents, full-time and substitutes. Full-time, it's only once a month unless you are like Tom and you pick the 5th Saturday of the month, then you're less than once a month. But just for a few hours, once a month. If you're interested, you need to contact Jean Sutherland. And if you need to know how to get a hold of her, you could always contact the Village Hall. And they could put you in touch with her. And that is it.
Thank you, Chris. Brenda, anything to report?
Just in December, we had the Spring Pines Reindeer Ranch come out and bring the reindeer. It's a fun event. We had a scavenger hunt, a food drive, and of course the reindeer, which was a big hit. So it was well attended, and it was very nice. And that the next event will be Easter, the Easter egg hunt, which I'm not sure if it's March or April. I have not looked on the calendar yet.
April.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, for all your work and all the elves' work. That's fantastic.
It was very nice for everybody that was able to help out as far as Santa and his elves that came out, and that it was a very nice event, and just want to thank everybody for all their support and and assistance with making it a fun event for the community.
And I think it's fantastic to do that kind of event because it's outside, which not eliminates the COVID issue, but certainly helps.
Correct, yes. And
Anything else, Brenda?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Farrell, anything to add?
No
Any
report.
Thank you. And Trustee Eck.
Just an observation, tried to get on channel 6 and was not able to see
Nothing to stream.
this on channel 6, at least not on my portion of it. But other than that, no report.
David, did you hear that? And I think we had that issue, planning and zoning, same thing, Charlie?
That's correct.
Thank you. Village Clerk, anything to report?
No report.
Thank you. Village Treasurer, I don't believe is here. Village Attorney?
No report. We'll be looking for a closed session later in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Village Administrator?
Yes. At the Finance Committee meeting on Monday, we will be giving the revenue estimates. So we'll have hopefully a decent target for discretionary spending. The budget time frame is at the February meeting. We'll have the first reading of the budget. The format of the budget will be set. It's probably 95% done. We will, at that meeting, it'll be 95% done. We'll do adjustments as we progress throughout the various readings. At the March meeting, we will have our public hearing, and then we'll pass it at the April meeting. And that is the extent of my report.
Thank you. Assistant Village Administrator?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we have started the process of revamping our website. This is going to be a months-long process working with Civic Plus, which is our website provider. We hope to, by the end of May, to have a whole new look to the website. And this is something that we'll be talking about more with the Communications Committee. So there will be more coming in the future.
Andy, I have a question, if I could interrupt.
Yeah.
Could you get the board a few milestones, 3 or 4 of the project getting us to May, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then my other update, also one last thing on the website is in regards to the number of people who are signed up for email alerts right now. I checked yesterday. We are at 180. And actually this month we just saw Simplicity overtake the website. We have 232 users on Simplicity. So we're happy that a lot of people are signing up and a lot of people are getting notifications via the app. And then my other report is on the community survey. As the mayor said, we got 280 responses, which we really appreciate all the feedback that we received from residents. And this is going to be something that will also be discussed at the Communications Committee with the idea and the hope of having some action items or some recommendations based on the results. But that's all I have for now.
And Andy, you and the Communications Committee plan to have a full report. I know in the smoke signals, there's going to be a highlight or a touch on the survey, but there'll be a full report at some point, correct?
Yes, in this month's edition of the smoke signals, there is some highlights of some of the big questions in there. And then also on our website, we're going to have the full results for everyone to look at, and then a report to the full board from the Communications Committee as well.
Andy, how many types of visitors have we had to our website since January 1?
What types of visitors you said, John?
Yeah.
Yes. So since from January 1, the most looked at pages on our websites have been related to the Agenda Center, COVID-19 Response Center, and then also our bids page, probably because of the sewer bid.
Do you have a count of how many people visited our webpage?
So not like a total count, but like, for example, the COVID center, 246 views, agenda center, 116.
Okay, thank you.
So you have a list or somewhat the top 10 or something, so that if in the new revamp, we were going to focus on some, we would start with the top pages as opposed to the bottom pages, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Department head report.
Something. I've asked them to comment about snow plowing and winter activities.
Okay, who's up, Don or Justin? I know you can't go at the same time.
Sure, I'll go. Thanks. First of all, thanks to the board for voting to let's get the new truck. That's going to help us a lot. That was a big surprise at the phone call that truck was on fire. Thank goodness no one was hurt. But thank you again for that. And we were able to, like John said, borrow a truck from the Justiceville Springs. That'll get us through until the other truck gets here, hopefully in March. It sounds like it's going to happen. In the meantime, we've had 4 events so far. We've used about 80 tons of salt. Event meaning where we actually come out and plow and salt. So 4 so far, and we're ready for anything that else is coming up. We've had water main breaks as well. Justin will update you on those. And besides that, we're doing a lot of maintenance in our garage and keeping up with everything we have.
Don, you said we've used 80 tons. What's a yearly spend, or 80 tons? Is that a quarter of our pile or what?
Yeah, it's a little bit less than a quarter, but yeah, usually we're at 300. I think we order like 350 usually. So we're kind of on track, of where we're at last year. So we're doing okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
December and January, we had 3 water main breaks. No sanitary sewer issues going on. The water plant improvement, we're at the 75% design stage completion. So that's still in the works. Again, like Don said, thank you, board, for pushing through this approval to keep the streets plowed and salted and clean. My only other kind of, not water related, but the street lighting along Acacia Drive, everyone's noticed there's about 6 lights that are out. That is not our village owned, and those they're ComEd. So ComEd has fixed 2 of them along Acacia and Westwood, and Acacia Circle. They have 4 more to go, and we are constantly bugging them through their construction department to get out here, but things happen with them, and everyone knows ComEd, sometimes streetlights are a low priority. So they are on track. They're basically the overhead team has to come out and just wire it from the ground up, and hopefully that'll be done soon. That's all I got.
Justin, since you brought up the light poles, I did hear a complaint from a resident that the northern Acacia Drive entrance, there wasn't lit very well. So as you're coming on Wolf Road and turning in, that could be a lot better if there was a light there. So I'll just pass that along to you. I don't know if there ever was one and it's out, but that I did hear that from a resident.
Right. So that there was one there right in the median, and then that was removed for the Acacia project, and they replaced it on Wolf Road. So it's not directly there in the middle of the intersection. There is a light there, but I agree, it is dim there. I don't know what their solution is, or if there is one, but we'll look into it.
All right, and then
their lighting there.
Thank you. One other question kind of goes back to Brenda's question about water loss. I know at one point when there's a leak, there was a document that you try to estimate the water loss. Is that still something you're doing? Because obviously it's a little pinhole leak. It's a lot different than if the whole line is cut.
Yes, that's one thing that I've just kind of let slip through the crack. I need to follow up with updating that. Because that was something that we were sharing with you, and so really dropped the ball on that. I apologize. But that's something, yes, we're still doing, where we would kind of estimate through our daily. So the last leak we had, we said, oh, you know what, Don, we're at 272,000 gallons for a day. Our average is right now is like 200,000 for a 24-hour period. So we're up a little bit more. Those are just kind of estimates. That's when we, those are red flags. So that last leak, I don't know, Don, what we came up with it, what got lost on the ground. So maybe that was a couple 100,000. And that is something I need to put into that sheet to update you. That's just what we think went on the ground, what we see what our over our average.
But Brenda, if you have an interest, you could take a look at that. And I don't know if it's been 2 years or whatever, but we did, and we do have some data, what a leak cost. And obviously that's money that runs down, into the drain, and you really can't stop that. But Justin and Don were doing some estimates. And so Justin, is fine that you haven't been keeping that updated. It's just, you did pay that much attention to it to try to estimate the loss, because we want to try to get it down to zero. It's going to be hard, but impossible, but we want to do as good as we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the department heads, trustee reports? Okay, going to public comments. Anybody on the call? Anybody, if you're on the call and want to say something, go ahead. And I do not see any text, and I don't see any chat, right? That was one of the ways people could enter a chat message on Zoom. So none of those. I guess going once, twice.
I am seeing nothing.
We see nothing on our side.
Nobody's raised their hand. All right.
Nobody's raised their hand, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to go to closed session?
And this, just for the record, this is to adjourn the regular meeting and go into closed session for the purposes set forth on the agenda, with no intention to return to open session.
Make that motion.
I'll make a motion to go to closed session for the purposes of personnel per 5 ILCS 120/2C 1 and collective bargaining 5 per ILCS 120/2C2.
I'll second.
Brenda and Chris. Charlie, I know that you kind of jumped in there, but are you okay if Brenda and Chris get that?
You did a much better job.
Thank you, sir. All right. So John, I think we end this.
Time is 8:36. I'm going to kick everybody off.
I'm sorry, don't kick anybody off yet. We need a roll call vote, please.
Right. Yes,
Oh.
when the meeting's over.
Yes, thank you. Okay, roll call vote, please. Clerk
All right.
Allison.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Trustee Eck. I'm sorry. Eck.
Aye.
And Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We're past.
All right, that's been approved. So now, John, please explain what is going to happen.
Okay, I'm going to close the meeting for all people. And then if the trustees would, and the attorneys would rejoin the meeting as soon as possible.
Is that okay, Pat?
Oh, so we have to sign off and sign back in?
Correct.
Okay,
About 1 minute in between.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ready?